Can you explain to French people why Tai Tuivasa is very powerful and very dangerous for Ciryl Gane?
Yeah, I think Tai's track record speaks for itself. You know, all of Tai's fights have been extremely entertaining, win, lose or draw. And you know, when Tai walks out, people know that he's there to, you know, try and win the fight with bad intentions. And with heavyweights, with small gloves and Tai's sort of power, I don't think there's anyone that, you know, shouldn't be worried about stepping in the cage with him.
You bring him to training to Thailand, here to Dubai, and even sometimes to California, to the United States. We know that he's someone who like partying, like enjoy the life.
Yeah.
You think that maybe keep him away from some temptation from Australia was necessary?
Yeah, I definitely think getting Tai out of his comfort zone and his local community was extremely beneficial for him. Tai's an extremely popular character no matter where he goes, but you know, he's extremely passionate about his area, you know, and where we come from. And you know, that being said, you know, there's quite a lot of people that, you know, not only want to share a lunch and dinner, but sometimes want to share an alcoholic beverage with Tai as well. So you know, for Tai to remove himself and know when the situation requires him to be able to enjoy himself and when the situation requires him to take himself out of that and switch on to professional athlete mode, that's something that, you know, he's worked on really hard over the last few years, and he's starting to find that balance.
UFC is the sport, but also a business, and UFC like the athlete with a strong personality, and he's someone like to do the show, and his personality perfectly fits with that world.
Yeah, I think Tai is, what you see is what you get. Tai is not fake. He's not going to pretend to be something else. There's often times, especially early in his career, you know, I tried to, you know, control a little bit, you know, don't say this, try not to do that, but you know, you can't do that with Tai. He's a free spirit, and now he's a grown man. He's ultimately going to always speak his mind and do what he wants to do, and he's an extremely, you know, organic and lovable character, and I think that's what people love about him, that he's genuinely just an average guy, you know, that's been blessed with some pretty good genetics, and now he's working really hard to use those, you know, God-given talents to reach his full potential.
We saw when he win against Lewis in Houston, I mean, it was in the United States, and he became very superstar because people like striking, knockouts. He has everything to become the big deal, the big star in that world.
Yeah, I think Tai ticks a lot of the boxes of what's required to be a superstar in the UFC. You know, ultimately fighting does not just get it done, but it helps if you're entertaining in your fight style. And everyone knows that when Tai comes to fight, he's not going to try and rely on the judges. You know, he's said in the past that if a fight goes a distance, he automatically feels that he loses. So he goes out there and with bad intentions to take his opponent out. So that's something that fans love. And then on top of that, his personality. You know, he's a very fan-friendly person. He loves interacting with the people. You know, he obviously loves to party and he loves to speak his mind. So I think it's something that transcends across like all genders, ages and demographics.
After his victory against Lewis, he had choice between Aspinall and Ciryl Gane, and he chose Ciryl Gane.
Yeah.
Why?
I think there was a couple of factors, but ultimately, like Tai stated from the start, his first preference is to fight the highest ranked opponent possible. There was talk of fighting the Stipe Miocic fight, and he was extremely keen for that. Stipe is obviously regarded by some people as the greatest heavyweight of all time, and Tai would love the opportunity to compete against someone like that and prove that, you know, he belongs at the top tier of the division. That fight ultimately fell through, and then it was just who's next in line, and they said, well, you know, you got Ciryl Gane in his hometown in France, he's number 2 in the world, or Tom Aspinall, I think, was ranked 6. So he was like, give me number 2 every day of the week. And, you know, people started to talk about, you know, stylistically and, you know, rankings, and it's his hometown, and he's starting. Tai said, I'll fight anyone, and he truly believes that. And this is why Tai, he doesn't have much to do with his opponents in his fights, because, you know, he'll just say yes to anything. And that's where, you know, myself as his coach and his managers try to, where we can, negotiate the best path possible for him.
Can you explain us the incredible story about the way that he signed the contract to fight Lewis?
Yeah, so Tai had for Augusta Sakai, and obviously we got a really great victory. He became ranked 11th in the world, and like I'm sure most people know, after his fights, Tai likes to, you know, celebrate and enjoy himself. So it was It was after the Christmas period as well, so Tai was still out and about, most nights of the week, enjoying the nice dinners and the nice party scene. And it was just one night that, I woke up to a bunch of text messages that some of them didn't make quite a lot of sense, but the shorter version of the story is Mick Maynard had got in contact with Tai when he was actually out at the club and said to him, listen, I'm looking for an opponent to fight Derek Lewis in 5 weeks in his hometown in Houston. And Tai said, yes, of course, send the contract and book my flights and I'll be there. And then they spoke to me after the fact. I didn't know that he'd already pretty much said yes to it. And I said, no, we need more time. This is, the number 3 ranked guy in the world. And Tai, then we met up. Tai the next morning, he was a little hungover, and he pretty much convinced me as to why it was a win-win situation.
Paris will be the big event for Ciryl Gane, but not only, for the whole MMA, which was illegal in France before. Mm-hmm. Tai Tuivasa go there to ruin the party. Everybody.
Yeah, well, it's not the first time Tai's, Tai's last fight against Derek Lewis, it was his hometown, and we got a bit of a frosty reception when we walked out, but by the end of the fight, everyone was cheering for Tai, and I think the same thing will happen in France. I'm sure, there's going to be a very strong fan base for Ciryl, being a French fighter, but, with Tai's style and the personality he is and the way he fights, I'm sure that by the end of it, the fans, not only are going to be respecting, but cheering for Tai as well.
At the training session today, you walk like you're wrestling. Some people say that it's an issue for him. Mm-hmm. Is it the biggest step that he needs to do to become one of the 2 or 3 top fighters from the heavyweight?
Yeah, I think, definitely Tai had some holes in his grappling earlier on in his career, and this is probably due to the fact that his striking was working so well, and it was such a dominant strength of his that he didn't really need to focus on the grappling aspect of MMA. And then, like we said, when you lose, you learn, and then he started to reflect on some of the areas he needed to improve, and now he's worked extremely hard over the last 3-4 years of his grappling, and it's shown in his fights. In his previous fight against Derek Lewis, there was a couple of stages there where Derek got hit with some hard punches and started to try to look for the takedown, and Tai did all the right things and showed great defense and got back to his feet and ultimately finished the fight. And it's the same for this fight. As much as we're training for Ciryl and we understand that his strength lies in his striking, we also know that it's an MMA fight. We don't want any surprises when we get in the cage, so we're preparing and making sure that we tick all the boxes.
My last question will be about his personality. He's someone with a tough story, tough background, but he looked like someone very, very nice, always smile. Yeah. Can you tell us about his part of his personality? Yeah, Tai's a big soft teddy bear. You know what I mean? He's definitely probably when people ask me, for a guy that goes and fights in a cage and knocks people into another dimension, I see him out dancing and drinking and listening to Spice Girls and Barbie Girl. This is Tai. He feels as if he's got nothing to prove. He's up for a laugh. So and he's just really a big-hearted guy. We went on a trip to Thailand one time, and we were coming back from the airport, and he saw a guy sitting there, and he had overstayed his visa, and he didn't have any money to, get out of the country. He had to pay a fine of, 20,000 baht to get out the country. And without, even hesitating, Tai gave him the money and said, make sure you can get out of here and look after yourself. And that's the sort of guy he is. He doesn't do things for the cameras or for the Instagram. He tries to, be true to himself and, look after his family and friends, and when possible, anyone that needs it. But every time he enters the cage, he becomes the ultimate warrior with just one purpose, like crushing the opponent.
Yeah, like I said, Tai, people even question his walkouts. Tai walking out to, these girly songs, and they think he needs to switch on and be focused. Tai likes to stay relaxed. He listens to that music all training camp, in the change rooms warming up, and then ultimately walks out. He wants to walk out to a song that he likes to sing and dance to and the fans enjoy. But make no mistake, when that cage door closes, that is where Tai, looks his best. There are some guys that look unbelievable in the training room, and they can't quite deliver when they step in the cage. But when the bright lights are on, that's when Tai shines the best. And that cage door closes, it's when you see Tai, he becomes one of the best in the world, and it's something that I believe he was truly born to do.